Hi guys, this is Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will learn about profile module. In this video, we will completely concentrate on the profile module. That is, by using the UI of material, we will design the profile module. And after designing that, we will be updating our particular user details in our DB. So hold that complete profile related validations and storing the data in the database that will be handled in this particular video. Let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code and what this profile looks like. So for now, let me go here and you have this profile linked and you have profile works. Now what I want to do is I want to change whole structure and the UI from the registration module. So it looks same like an registration module, and hence we will get the data from the registration module and put it in our profile and modify the UI as per our requirement. So let me go into profile first, profile.ts, and let me go into profile.html, and let me go into registration, that is register.component.html, and also let me go into register.component.ts. Now what I want to do is I want to copy all the stuff from the registration.html because mostly the profile UI will also look same like registration module. So let me copy and paste here. So now I don't want this particular div. So let me remove this particular div, and then what I can do is I can just have I don't need this terms and conditions as well, and this is something like end because I want to move all the buttons to the end of the screen. And there is a form, registration form, we'll talk about it, and we need interested topics because he can update that interested topics. The password, he will not update the password here because this password will be updated in our reset password. So that's why let me remove this div, and we can update the mobile number from this update profile, and you cannot update the email but you can see the email. So that's why let me remove this div, and we will be showing this email in a read-only format. Let me add that read-only as well. So now he can visualize that email but he cannot change that email. So that is one thing. And we have person name, that is first name and the last name. We need both of them. And let me move this particular email onto the top. So let me cut this and move this email to the top level. So here, let me paste here and format this. Now we have something called as registration. Let me change into profile update module. And do we have anything in CSS? Let's get that as well. So let me go into registration CSS, copy this and put it in our profile.css. So let me save this. Now profile has been saved, and let me go into registration.ts. What we can get is we can get the registration form. Let me copy this registration form, go into our profile.ts, put it over here, and also let me write a constructor where the constructor is used to inject our necessary dependencies. So let me go and get our onInit as well. Let me copy this onInit and put it over here in our profile, and let me implement this with our onInit. And let me copy this form builder. Let me put this with a dependency called as form builder, and let me remove this password and remove the validations for email because it is a read-only property. And now let me import the remaining statements. So let me click this bulb and add all missing imports and save this. Now we are ready with the registration form, but this registration form, it should be renamed as a profile form. So let me do that, and let me go into profile.html and let me do here as well and save this. Now let me save this. Go bottom, and we have something called as touched. Okay, everything is good, and we don't want agreed statement. Let me remove this, and profile form, whenever it is invalid, this button should be disabled and the button label should be update, and save this. And let me change this button. It is reset button, so let it be reset button itself. And now everything is up to the mark. Let me compile this, and in the compilation you are seeing some warnings, like you are seeing some errors like mat card footer. Why? Because let me check that profile module, whether that profile module has the material module or not. We don't have that. So add the material module, and then we can add something called as predefined module as well. Save this. Now check that it is throwing an error at ng submit. So let me go into profile.html this is an ng submit. So what I'll do is update profile, and let me create a dummy method for this update profile. So let me go here, and it will not return anything, so void, and it is empty, and it is used in HTML. So let me use public and save this. Now everything is compiled successfully. Let me go to the browser. So here you can see email, first name, last name, mobile number, and interested topics too. So all this has been rendered on your profile update. But actually speaking, we need to get all these values from the backend and showcase them. He can update the values. Once he clicks on the update, it should update in the database. So that's how we will be targeting in this video. Now let me go into the email. So it is read only. So whenever I type here, I am not able to type anything. You can listen my keyboard. I am not able to type any of the values. Now what I'll do is, first we will try to pre-fill the values. That means I want to fill all these values once the values are rendered or bought it from the mock API. So how can I get that from the mock API? Actually speaking, we have many cases where we can get the data. Let me go into mock data, and we have 2 users. So let me click on edit. In this you can see there are something called as get, post, put, and delete. So post is something like you can create it, put is something like you can update it, delete is something like you can delete it. So now here we want to get that by using its ID. So for example, in this case, what is the ID for us? So ID is something like auto generated. So let me go to the test data. If you see the test data, the ID refers to 1. In this case, it is 1. So I can call that particular record by passing this particular ID. But when we will know about this ID, actually speaking, we can get that ID only whenever we are trying to log in. Let me inspect this and go to the network or application. Let me go into the storage. If you see here, already the required properties are already stored in our storage. So this is my ID, and now I can get this ID and call the API, get the API data, and showcase in the UI. So that is the target. When I should get this? When the user clicks on the profile, immediately I need to get this ID, pass this ID to the API, get the data. So let me go here into our TS. What I will do is, inside this, I'll create a user ID. So user ID, which is nothing but a number, or you can consider like a string. So this is my user ID. So let me use this user ID to get the data from the local storage. So how can I get that? This dot user ID is equal to local storage dot get item, and I can pass local storage keys dot ID, and now you will be getting a local storage value. You don't know whether that ID exists or not. So if it exists, take that value, otherwise take that as empty. So let me save this. And now whenever the user ID does not exist, he should not go further, actually speaking. That we will handle a bit later. Now we got into on init, and once the initialization is completed with the form, then I need to call the API and get the data. So how to call the API? Already we have something called as user service, and inside the user service we have something called as get all users. But now I don't want to get all the users, I want to get only one user. So get user by ID, and let me pass the user ID for us, which is in a string format, and that will return an observable which is of iUser alone. And now let me return, that is nothing but return this dot http client dot get of this dot user URL dot or as observable, and the observable is iUser observable. Let me save this. Now by passing an user ID for this, we need to get the data. This is something like a base URL. If you see here, that is nothing but a base URL along with the endpoint. Our endpoint is user endpoint. If you go here into the mock API, you have this particular edit, and if you see here, you have a /user, and if you want to get the individual user details, then you have to pass an ID. So for this, what I'll do is I'll append my ID, or let me append this user ID. So now user URL, along with that I will be getting the ID. But how this endpoint is used? It is used without a slash. So for that sake, let me add plus and slash. Either you can add like this or you can use template driven. So how we can use as a template? By using template strings, I can pass this dot user URL slash user ID, and that is something like a string. So I can put like this and dollar like this. So user URL along with the base URL. Now we are passing a user ID. So this will return you the user ID whatever we requested. So now let me go here. What I'll do is I'll write one more method to get that user details. Get user details, and let me use a void over here because it will not return anything. Now what I can do is I can use this particular method once the form is initialized. So once the form is initialized, I am calling get user details, and this has to call a service method. So for that sake, let me use private user service, which is again a user service. Now let me use this get user details, this dot user details, that is nothing but user service. Copy this, put it over here, dot get user by ID, and again we have to pass the user ID, this dot user ID. Once I pass the user ID, then I'll be getting the data in a subscription format. So let me get the response, and just I'll use a console.log of response, and save this. Now let me put it over here iUser, because we'll get the iUser response. Save this. Now you got the console. Let me go here and go to the Angular, go to the console, and you got all the details about your form. That is email, first name, ID, interested topics, last name, mobile, password, UUID, everything. And inside this we want only few of them, so that few of them we can pass it to our form. So let me go here. Now our responsibility is to update the form. So how I can update is I can update the profile form, this dot profile form dot patch value. We already learned about the patch value in our reactive forms. So please watch that videos so that you will understand complete scenario and complete use cases of this reactive forms. So I'll pass this whole response to my patch value and save this. What this patch value will do? Exact names which are matching with this response, that values will be pre-filled. So let me go here. You can see all the values has been pre-filled. Now it is interested topics and it also shown in the UI. So till here we are good. Now we are not able to update the email. We are able to update the first name, last name, mobile number and interested topics. So now what I want to do is, now the update button is enabled. For example, let me remove this. Update button has been disabled. So now when the user clicks on update, it has to call the save API. So I am just covering the positive scenarios now, and we will talk about the negative scenarios once we're done with the positive scenarios. Let me go here, and here we have the update profile. So whenever you want to update, you can call a method called as put. So let me go into the user service, and what I'll do is update user by user ID. That means I'll pass the user ID. For that particular user ID, I want to update all the details. So this is my user ID, and I want to pass something called as user details, and that is of iUser. And let me use an observable. Again, it should return an observable which is of iUser, and then I'll return this dot http client dot put of, I'll just pass the same template here, but this time I'm posting some data, so I want to pass the user details payload as well, and I want to return as an observable where iUser will be my response. Let me save this. Now I want to pass the user ID, I want to pass the user details. Let me copy this, and if you see, already we saw that if the interested topics is of type string, then we have to split it, and we have something called as created at as well, but this time we are updating it. So let me go here. You can see only created it, so no need to update any value. So now what we'll do is we'll do a cross check for our payload. So let me copy this and put it over here. Instead of payload, I'll just use user details and user details. If it is of type string, if it is already a type of array, then it goes and updates. Let me save this. Now let me go into profile. When the user clicks on update, this update profile will be called, and what we'll do is we will get that particular value. So How we will get this dot user service dot, we have something called as update user by user ID. I'll pass the user ID for this, and I'll also pass this dot profile form dot value, because that is my form which will have all the values which are required for my particular updates. Let me use dot subscribe, and after the subscription you will get a response, and based on the response we can react to that particular updating of profile. So let me use console.log of response and save this. Now let me go back here. I will update this as update, and let me clear this off. Let me go into our console as well. So let me zoom a bit. So I have updated this first name. Let me click on update. So now it went with an API call with all the details, and you can see this interested topics as well, and you are getting the values. If you see, I passed email, first name, interested topics, last name, and mobile number. Let me go to the preview. You got that first name, which is an updated value. Let me go into the day B, and let me refresh this, and let me click on data. It has only 2 records, but this time the name, first name, has been changed to Sai Kumar update. So we need to do one more thing as well. We'll talk about it. That is the negative part. Here I have updated the first name. So it is a combination of first name and the last name. But if you see here, the first name is Sai Kumar update. But if you are seeing here, it is having the previous value. That means we should not have the previous value. We should have the latest value. We'll talk about that bit later. Now we are able to update it. And once the update is done, we have to show a toast message. So already we know that we can use a snack bar. So already we did it in register.component.ts, and we have something called a snack bar service. So I can use this snack bar service. Let me copy this and put it in our profile.component.ts, and let me use inside this. So how we can validate it? If you see the response, or just go here and go to the network, click on update. So now you can see the values. That means you got a response. If you get a response, then it is success. So if res exists, then I have a snack bar service which will show that it is successfully updated. So let me use a private and snack bar service, snack bar. So let me copy this and put it over here, and let me make this as S capital and import it. So what is this snack bar service? It is pointing to mat snack bar. So let me copy this mat snack bar, go into our profile.ts and put it over here and import it. Save this. Now, whenever the update profile has been done successfully, then we will say that user updated successfully. And let me remove this exit. Now, if something gets failed, so then we will be getting a callback to the second one, that is error. If there is any error, then I want to use this snack bar for showing the error, like something went wrong, try again, and save this. So we are not using this error. Let me remove this and save this. Now we are doing an update. In the same way, whenever we are doing this get user details, also we may be getting some errors. So if API is not returning anything, then we have to show this not able to get the user details. Not able to get user details, try again. And for example, before calling this, if we are not having the user ID, that means if the user ID is empty, then no need to call this API. For that sake, what I'll do is, if this dot user ID does not exist, that means not condition, if it does not exist, then I will be throwing an error that is nothing but user ID not found. User ID not found. Save this. And now if you don't find the user ID, you can just log him out. So that's why what I will do is, just after some set of time, that means set timeout, and I want to wait and show this toast message. After showing this toast message, I want to push that user back to the login page. So let me go here and inject our private, that is nothing but router. So router and the router. So let me pass this by using this router, this dot router dot navigate, and the navigate is to login. So let me save this. Now let's validate all the scenarios and let me remove the consoles which are not needed for us and save this. Now let me go and check all the update scenarios first. So I have this, I'm not able to edit this email, and let me update this with 123, and I can use 123, I can use 8, and I can use React and hit update. So now we have updated the user successfully. Let me go into the mock API and just click on this data. You should see the updated value. You can see Sai Kumar updated 123, and I have added 123 for this. I have added 8, and if you see the interested topics, we have added the Angular and React. So let me close this. Now let me go here. There is one thing which we need to fix. So we have updated and we have cleared all the stuff, but we need to cover the negative scenarios as well. So when I click on cancel, it should not reset whole form. This is wrong way. We have to reset the values if it is already updated. So in that case, what we can do is, instead of using that reset in our profile, so let me go into profile.html. Here we are using a reset. So I don't want to use it as a reset. I want to use it as a button. And I don't want this hash also because we are not using it. Now when the user clicks on cancel, let me call on, that is nothing but click. And whenever the user clicks on this, I should call this get user details again, and that particular get user details should update the latest values, whatever we have in the DB. Let me save this. And now this is our get user details. So for example, in my DB, I have Sai Kumar update 123. Let me remove this. I don't want to update this. So let me click on cancel. So it will get the values which is update 123. That means the values which are already in the DB, that has to be triggered. So that's why here the logic has been changed. And the next problem is with the email. If you see, all the fields are looking the same way. So the user may assume that I can edit this. So he will try to edit this, but he cannot edit this. So this field should be in disabled. That means you have to see that particular field in a gray out manner. So that's why what I'll do is I'll add a CSS for this. Let me go into our profile CSS and I'll add something called as mat form field, and we should know what should be grayed out. So let me use this for now, and if you inspect this, we should gray out this part. If you gray out this part, even this empty space will also grayed out, but I don't want to do that. I want to gray out only MDC text field. So what I can do, I can just copy this wrapper. Either you can copy this wrapper or you can copy this MDC text field. So anything is fine. Let me copy MDC text field. So which is inside this mat form field. Let me put it over here. It is a class, and hence I want to apply a background color which is of type gray, and save this. If you see, it won't apply directly. That is one of the problem with material. It's not a problem, it's a behavior of the material. So what we have to do is we have to override the material styles. So how you can override it? First case is, let me use something called as ng-deep and save this. When you use ng-deep, it will go and it will override the styles, that is the default styles of Angular material with our styles. Let me go here. You can see all are in gray out, but I want to apply this only for our class. And before that, let me get the color as well. Nice color. Let me reduce this color. Gray instead of gray, I'll just go here like this. Yeah. So let me copy this background color and put it over here. Save this. Now what I want to do, I want to apply this CSS only for particular class. For that sake, what I'll do is, for this material, that is mat form field, if you have a disable class, then only apply this class. So let me copy this disable and go into our email. So let me go into the form field class disable. So whatever the form fields which has a disabled feature, that particular field will be disabled. Let me go here and you can see only this has been disabled. Let me go here and let me inspect this. If you inspect this, there is an input field and you can remove this and you can edit it at any time, where hackers can do that. So now I can edit this. That means when I update it, the email, whatever we have in the API, that will also get updated. That should not happen. So what you have to do is, whenever you click on the update, you have to validate whether that particular email already exists or not. Then only if that particular email exists, then we have to do that. And the second thing we have to check is we have to check the person who logged in. So if you see this application, we have logged in with a user, that is UUID of this one, or you can use this ID. That means whose UUID is matching with this, that particular email should match the value whatever we are using over here. Or second thing which we can do in a simple fashion is whenever you update, don't send this email. Avoid sending that email so that it will not save anywhere. It is only for showcasing purpose. That would be the better approach. So let me go into profile, and what we will do is instead of saving directly this form, so we are sending whole form values. Instead of doing that, what I'll do is const payload is equal to this value, and what I'll do is I'll just remove payload.email and delete it. So whenever I delete this payload.email, payload will not have the email and it will update only the remaining stuff. Let me go here, let me inspect this, and let me remove this read only. Now I'm able to update this and click on update. Before that, go to the network, click on update. If you see here, my email is the previous one whatever we have, but whatever he is updating here, that is not passed further. So this is one case. And the second case is now the user will get confused. I have updated the email, but the email is not saved. Why? So whenever the user clicks on update, and if there is any change in the email, how you will find the change in the email? By using this particular application's email. For now we are using that particular email, and that email should match the values whatever we are getting from the user details. So let me go here. What I'll do is we can save that user details whenever we are calling the get user details, right? So whenever I call this get user details, I'll save this value in a global variable. So that is nothing but user details, which is of iUser, and it is not initialized in the starting. So let me copy this user detail, and once the user detail is successful, then even after patching, I'll use this user details is equal to response and save this. Now whenever I save this, instead of deleting, we can do one more approach. Something like we will not allow him to save itself. Let me copy this and put it over here, and let me remove this. Now what I'll do, I'll just check if this dot user details dot email, if it is not equal to the value from form, that is profile form dot value, and the value may contain email, and if it is not equal to email, then I should throw an error. Let me copy this snack bar service, put it over here, and we will say that user email can't be changed. And once we show the error, just return this back so that it will not go for the update logic. So let me clear this and test this, save this, and that would be a rare scenario. Let me reload. Now you got this i@gmail.com, and let me inspect this, and let me remove that read only property from here, and then let me update this and save this. Now you can see user email can't be changed. So now he changed it, and we are telling that user email can't be changed. And once this error comes in picture, we have to get the previous details again back, get user details. Why? Because he will be seeing that update. Instead we have to move back him to the normal stage. So for example, let me go here again, and let me remove this read only property, and now let me go here and just click on update, and clicking on update, user email can't be changed, and it reverted back. So that's how it will be useful. Now whenever I update something in the first name, that has to be settled down in our application as well. If you see UUID will never change, and the ID will never change, but username can be changed. So that's why what we'll do is we'll update this username. Once the user saved successfully, we will update the username by taking the first name and the last name. That is one thing which we have to do. So once the user saved successfully, we are showing a snack bar. At the same time, I'll update local storage dot set item of, I'll update with what key? The local storage keys dot username, and the username contains the values of first name and last name. So that's why what I can do is I can just copy this value and dollar paste dot first name, and then space this dot form profile, same thing, dollar, and that contains last name. So let me check that fields. So minimize this, and last name and the first name. So copy this first name, put it over here, and the last name is n small. Save this. Now go here, and what we'll do is update 123. I'll just remove this and I'll add only Kurtiwada SKK. So my first name is Sai Kumar and the last name is Kurtiwada SKK. So let me click on update. Now you can see here username has been updated with Sai Kumar Kurtiwada SKK. This is also fine, but there is one more problem. The problem here is Sai Kumar Kurtiwada is not updated in the top bar. If you observe, this is a critical situation where this is a separate component and Sai Kumar Kurtiwada is on the top bar, which is another component, and they don't have a common relationship. They don't have direct relationship. So how we can update? As we discussed observables, then observable come into picture. Here the thing is, either you can use observable, or the second approach is you can use something like signals. So what we'll do is we will update this by using our signals. So let me go here, and this way how we can update the signals is only one way we should have a service which will interact with both of this, because they don't have any direct communication. So here we have a user service. That would be the better place to do this. What I'll do is I'll use a private method, and the private method is username signal is equal to, I'll use a, okay, so let me pass the initial value as empty. So now I created a signal. Now this signal will be having a value called as default, but whenever I get something into our local storage, wherever we are updating the local storage, at that particular place we have update this username signal as well. So for that sake, what I'll do is I will not access this directly. Instead, what I'll do, I'll create a method return or set username and save this with this dot signal dot set of, I want to update it directly. So directly sets the new value. So what I'll do is I'll receive this value in the format of a string, and I'll use this input and put it over here. And whenever the signal is getting updated, we have to update the local storage as well. So what I'll do is I'll go here and get this local storage dot set item with this particular value, and whatever the input I am passing, I'll pass that input to this, and let me import this. So whenever I update the username, it updates both signal as well as local storage. Let me save this. Now wherever we are updating, we will be changing our logic. Now the logic will be changed like this dot user service dot update or set username, and the username which I want to set is this particular string. So copy this and put it over here and just remove this. So it goes and updates our local storage along with the signal. Now we have the same thing in one more place. Let me check that. Dot username, you can just find with that key. So we have this set name in two places and get name in one place. So let me go into the setter name. So here also we are using, that is user service, and login. Inside the login, instead of using this, I'll use this user service and update the value. So how I can do that? By using this dot user service dot, I want to go with set username, and the username which I want to pass is this values. Copy and put it over here, semicolon. Let me remove this. So now we are setting the username in two places, once the user logs in and once the user update the profile. Now this is also fine. The last case which we have is username getting the value. That means if I want to get the value, how it impacts. So in this case, what I can do is I can create a private, that is user service with a user service reference, and instead of using this as direct way, I can use this dot user service dot, I want to get that value. So for getting that value, let me write a getter method for that. So let me get user name, which is again a signal. So let me use a return type. So here this dot username signal, I want to pass only the value. So let me use like this, and let me pass the string itself. So whenever I call this get username, that username will return the value for us. So let me go here and put it over here and save this. Now this get username will be a signal again, or it will be a string again, and now you will be getting the username. Let me go here and check inspect. Let me go into the update, and now user updated successfully. So it is getting updated in our application, yeah, but it is not showing in the UI. Let's see that. What we'll do is, this is get username, which is a string, but I don't want to return the string. I will return the signal, which is of type, and I don't want to return the value. Save this. Now these will be returned from here, and that method will return a signal again. So let me use signal with a string type, and this is something like signal. We are doing a lot of stuff here. I think we can do in a minimal way. That is nothing but, instead of creating this variable, let me make it as public. Now you can get the value completely by using this user service itself. Let me comment this. Now let me copy this user service, go to your topbar.html, and instead of using this, I'll use user service dot get username, that is this one. Copy this and put it over here, get a value, save this. Now go here, no overloading matches. That means signal string give the following error. Argument of type signal is not assignable to the type of string. Okay, so let me check where it is breaking. It is breaking in the top bar HTML. So let me go into our topbar.ts, and we have commented this. So we are getting the user service value, and okay, we are assigning that particular signal itself. So let me go here into our user service, and instead of returning this signal, what I'll do is I'll return a value. Remove this and save this. Let's see, updated. Yep. So you got Sai Kumar Kurtiwada, but for the first time whenever I load this, you are not getting, because it is having a default value as empty. That should not be the case. Here, whenever you have this initialization, then first you have to get it from local storage. So local storage dot get item of local storage keys dot username. If you don't have that username, then the default value should be empty. Save this. Now whenever you get the get item, you will be getting the value. If you don't get the value, it should be empty. Let me go here and reload. Now you are getting Sai Kumar Kurtiwada SKK. Let me remove this SKK and just update it. If you see, it got updated in two places. So why we are using signals and where we are using this signal? Signal is used inside a service because this top bar component does not have any relation with this profile update, because this is completely a routlet, and we are maintaining this top bar at a app level. And whenever I update this, it has to update the local storage as well as this particular top bar value. So for that sake, what I am doing is I am using a concept of signal. You can use observables also, but as signals are very new for us and we have to adopt in the future, instead of observables, wherever we can use signals, that's better to use. So that's why I experimented this with a signal. So now you are able to update the values. Whenever there is an update in the service, it automatically reflects at a particular values wherever you are calling it. Why? Because it's a signal. So whenever I update the signal, wherever it is listening, it just goes and get the values and update the UI. So that's why I have used the signals. So this is about our profile update. Hope you like my explanation. In the upcoming video, we'll see about reset password, and that's about profile update. Hope you got a glance about profile update, how to update the details, how to call the API, how to get the data, how to cover all the edge cases of this profile update. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.